Welcome back to the Watch List. I'm Nicole Petallides. We're taking a look at the solar industry. Some of the names like SunPower, for example, had a quick rally up to July 24th. I'm going to take a look at it now as well. Had a great 3-day run, best since May. So some names to watch and discussions here for the world of solar power. Jason Britton's with us, President, CIO, Reflection Asset Management, and Rob Buick, Senior Portfolio Manager, Pear Tree Essex Environmental Opportunities Fund. Thank you both for being here. So, Rob, some of your thoughts on the big picture. Is this a good group to invest in? Where is it growing?
Yeah, so solar has been always a challenging area to invest. There's a lot of volatility. Some of the challenges include you have a glut of supply from China. They're not necessarily optimizing profits in the near term, so returns on capital are pretty challenged. In particular, in the last couple of years, the solar space in the United States here has been really hurt by some of the higher interest rates, some of the macro factors in terms of tariffs put on some of the imports of panels and wafers and cells. You've had some changes to some of the local net metering rules. So all of this has led to some really challenging areas. And most recently, the biggest headline and the biggest worry, I think, is concerns about the repeal of the IRA, which do have a lot of benefits for the solar space. But we think, a lot of that is kind of factored into and discounted by the market, and we're a little bit more optimistic on the solar outlook at this point.
I see. And I just wanted to clarify, when I said some of these names have been running up, I mean, they really haven't. I'll give Sunrun 3 months, 50% higher. SunNova 3 months up 62%. So, Jason, what's going on here? What do you think? Can they kind of keep some momentum?
So I'm hopeful that they can keep momentum. I think, as Rob said, it's really, you got to pick your spots in this particular market. There are some of these names who've seen, double-digit growth recently. A lot of it's, buy on the rumor, so to speak. Still incredibly bullish, just like your last guest. AI, integration and monetization. Solar's the next wave, shortly behind that, battery storage. I think we've got to figure out a way to turn those headwinds into tailwinds, because we're not going to be able to power those data centers and really bring that AI trend all the way down to the next level if we don't figure that out.
Which names do you think, Jason, may be better positioned than others? Is it kinds of solar stocks that may be best positioned? Is it residential solar? Is it, for commercial? Is it here? Is it abroad? Jason?
So from my position is that it's still in this country very, very difficult on the residential side. As Rob mentioned, you've got net metering changes. You've got an interest rate environment that makes it unattractive for a lot of folks. There's just too much uncertainty. I'm more of a big scale utility play, which puts me directly into First Solar, right? I mean, they're going to have their earnings call after the close tomorrow. Stock's trading down about 3% today, a little weak going into that call. Still think long-term 12-month price target north of 280, could go as high as 290. So that looks like about 30% up from here. Still really like the name, strong balance sheet, doing the right things, and about 90+% of their business is on that utility scale. They've sort of gotten away from that residential installation.
Yeah, so First Solar, FSLR, is trading at 219 today. Rob, you had some other best position stocks that you were watching. You talked about Enphase, Primoris, and then more cautious on the residential solar names, right?
That's correct. So we agree with Jason about we prefer utility scale over residential, although Enphase is largely a residential player right now. They just reported last week. They are kind of best in class inverter technology. They have a leading market share here, U.S. residential installations. We think a lot of the negativity is priced in. They had some inventory overhang in the channel that seems to be cleared up right now. And so I think the outlook into next year for accelerating growth is pretty healthy there. On the utility side, we like Primoris, ticker is PRIM, which is a smaller company. They are a provider of construction and grid services, maintenance services. And so the outlook for them to continue to build out T&D, transmission distribution, and then interconnection hookups with utility scale solar is attractive here. It's trading at a meaningful discount to its larger peer Quanta Power Systems, and the outlook in the backlog is very strong and with improving profitability.
Yeah. Whenever I ask somebody about crypto, they say, well, it's all about regulation. If things are going in our direction, what would you say about solar? What would you say here, Rob, about regulation? Is it going in favor of solar?
Well, it has been pretty favorable. And here's the irony: it has been very favorable for solar, with the IRA in particular. Very constructive in terms of lengthening of the period of subsidies and benefits. But it hasn't really helped the stocks, and so that's one of the reasons why we feel a little bit better about it here. The biggest concern is the repeal of the IRA with the Trump administration, a Republican sweep potential. I think that is overly discounted by the market right now. I don't think there'll be a wholesale repeal of the constructive backdrop here. There are some areas that Trump has specifically called out, and electric vehicles is the largest, offshore wind. But I think a lot of the advanced manufacturing credits that help the margins of some of the solar companies are still going to be intact. There is bipartisan support historically for solar in some of these other areas. So we're not as negative on the potential repeal of the IRA, and we think that the backdrop will remain constructive. In the meantime, since the IRA has been signed over almost 2 years ago now, the solar industry, the TAN, the solar ETF, has underperformed the market by more than 50%. And so we think that there's a lot of negativity priced in, and the fact that many of these benefits will stand will be a positive.
That's a big miss and big underperformance on TAN, that ETF. I'll give you the final word here, Jason, because when you think about the Inflation Reduction Act, were you happy about it? Do you think something might change or should change?
I concur with Rob. I think there's a very low probability of a wholesale repeal. I think you might see certain pieces of it whittled down. But broadly speaking, renewable energy, 85% of all the energy that came online, new power generation was renewable. That's not going anywhere. It's a bipartisan issue, despite the fact that we're in election year and everybody wants to talk about, woke and conservative and so on and so forth. It's a trend that's not going anywhere. The United States will continue to have a strong position, I think, domestically in our production at the high end. And as long as we can keep those tariffs and those other things under control, I'm not worried about too much of an absolute dumping of Chinese cheap product on the market. So again, reiterate, think it's a great industry. Really want to see some input and thoughtfulness around the battery and the storage piece, because that'll get rid of that U curve, or what they call the duck back.
Yeah. Jason Britton, Rob Buick, thank you both. Good to see you. Appreciate it.